All right, part three of Earth's history. We left off, kind of talked about the Precambrian era. What are some of the major organisms and what was happening? Looked at the Paleozoic era. Now we're kind of focused on the Mesozoic era, and we said that's the time of the dinosaurs. That's the time of the age of the reptiles. And it's kind of getting into the fact that reptiles have the ability to usually grow to their environment. The more food they have, the more environment they have to be able to roam and move, they get bigger. It's been proven that like snakes and lizards, you keep them in a small container or a small cage, they stay small. Take that same one, move it out, give it more food, give it more space to move, a bigger cage, they get bigger. So we think dinosaurs kind of evolved during this time period because Pangea is near the equator. So it's warm. You have a lot of warm. Obviously, reptiles are cold blooded, they need the warmth. And it's starting to break apart during the Mesozoic, but it's still pretty much together. Most of the land masses are near the equator. They do start to break apart into Laurasia and Gondwana land, which may be a reason why the dinosaurs die. But they lots of food, lots of space to roam because the continents are all together. This is probably one of the reasons why the dinosaurs become the major organisms of this time period. During this time period, though, we do see the first birds, and that's why there's some debate on whether birds evolved from dinosaurs and so on. They're kind of together. We also find the first mammals appear right at the end of the Mesozoic era in the Triassic period. Flowering plants, swampy areas during this time period, lots of stuff. But at the end of it, we get another mass extinction, just like at the end of the Paleozoic. We do have a little bit more insight of maybe what caused this last extinction to take place, because we found an impact crater off of the coast of Mexico, and it's in the Gulf, it's in the ocean, but we've measured it and saw the diameter. So it was a very large asteroid collision. Could have been a comet, who knows? But it must have been catastrophic in the fact that it's saying here probably threw lots of dust and ash up into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun. Hence, we could have plants dying because they didn't have it. And if plants die, all of a sudden the animals and the dinosaurs that eat the plants, they die. And now all of a sudden the carnivores start to die because they have nothing to eat. And like I said, it's probably a combination of that comet or asteroid that's been dated to be about the same time, 65 million years ago at the time of the dinosaurs, and Pangea starting to break apart, continents moving to colder areas, not having as much area to roam, disease. The fact that all the animals were close together, disease could have wiped out large amounts of organisms. Lots of things that could have happened that caused this dial. But we do find out that dinosaurs eventually become extinct at the end of this time period. Which brings us to the Cenozoic era, this age of the mammals. Mammals, being warm-blooded, were able to withstand this nuclear winter from the ash blocking out the sun. And then they start to evolve and become the dominant land animals. Mountain building during this time, the Himalayas, the Alps, the Andes, all these recent mountains that are the highest because they haven't eroded as far. Grazing animals become big during this time period. The continents split even more into what we have as our present day, but it does give us to some isolation where Australia isolated itself from the Asian continent, and we get evolution to take place because that's where we find the marsupials, koalas, wombats, kangaroos, and we don't find them anywhere else because they are isolated to that continent. The Cenozoic, the age of the humans. I mean, that we become the dominant organisms. Not so much because of brute strength, but our brains. We're able to use tools and become civilized and form these large civilizations. But for the most part, Cenozoic era is the modern, it's the mammals, and there were a ton of different organisms that lived during that time that have become extinct, the large terror birds. And I tried to include some links and videos that have some of these dominant land animals, some that are fun, the most crazy, rare organisms that you would find on the earth that we find. But if you have any questions on the homework, make sure you look at the full videos, full PowerPoints, be able to ask questions. Email me at mark.boer@addisonschools.us. I don't know how many of you watch these videos each week, but hopefully you are and getting some information out of them. We will